Today we are looking at the life of Ruth the Moabite, as told in the book of Ruth in the Bible. Ruth was a Moabite, and we know that her people, the Moab people, were living in what is now southern Jordan. They were the descendants of Lot, Abraham's nephew, but they were cursed at a point by God, who wrote in Deuteronomy 23, "No one of illegitimate birth may enter the assembly of the Lord, nor may any of his descendants, even to the 10th generation. No Ammonite or Moabite or any of their descendants may enter the assembly of the Lord, even to the 10th generation. For they did not meet you with food and water on your way out of Egypt, and they hired Balaam, son of Beor, to curse you." There are all kinds of things they did, but mostly they left God to worship other gods, and that was a no-no for Israel. And let's look at what happened in the story. We are told that the history of the Moabites is closely linked to that of the Israelites, marked by conflictual relationship and connections, cultural connections, as we see from the Bible. And we are also told that eventually they stopped being a people, independent people. They were absorbed by the Arabic people, and there is no trace of them today. Now, in the story of Ruth, it was in the days of the judges. There was a famine in the land of Israel. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. He might not, first of all, have asked counsel from the Lord, because usually God was discouraging his people from moving somewhere else unless he decided so. So that man was Elimelek. His wife's name was Naomi, and the names of his two sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephratites from Bethlehem in Judah, and they lived in Moab. And when they lived there, it didn't go well with them. First of all, Elimelek died, and then Naomi was left as a widow with two sons. And the two sons married Moabite women, and we can understand that because they were foreigners in the land, and it was difficult for them to find probably other people, other women that were believers like them in the God of Israel. But marrying Moabite women didn't imply that these two sons should stop praying, have family prayers, or continue worshiping God. But apparently they did. And so they lived like that for 10 years, didn't get any son or daughter, and then eventually died. And that was both a sad situation and a reflection on their relationship with God, although there is nothing indicated except that after 10 years, Naomi heard that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them. You remember that by the time she left, there was no food. There was a famine in Israel. But by that time, probably some 20 years afterwards, food had come back. And so she decided to go back to Israel. And she left with the two daughters-in-law that were also young widows. And we know that in those days, as it is in many countries still today, widows have a hard time because there is no protection for them. It's the man that protects his wife. So without a husband, they were left to the goodwill of people nearby, and people were not always prepared to help. And she knew that the daughters-in-law were also in the same situation now, so she didn't want to force them not only to leave their surroundings and their own families, but also to go to a place they didn't know, with a language they didn't know, a religion they didn't know, because clearly they didn't worship the God of Israel. When Naomi prayed for them, she said, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husband and me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband," because they were young. So she kissed them goodbye. They wept aloud, saying, "No, we're not going to leave you." Then she insisted and said, "Why would you come with me? Am I going to have any more sons that could become your husbands?" So she said, "Don't." So eventually, Orpah, one of the two, kissed her goodbye and left. But Ruth clung to her and said, "I'm not going." "Look," said Naomi, "your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her." Which shows that our family, our people, our gods, their gods were our own. She was not worshipping the God of Israel. But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it so severely, if even death separates me and you and me." So she and Naomi accepted, and they went together. So what we learned from there is, first of all, Ruth knew Naomi very well. She had been staying there with her for at least 10 years. And she must have admired her, considered her as a role model. But not just that, she was attracted to her God, the God of Israel, Jehovah. And so she said, "I'll follow you. Not only that I'll go with you, but your God will be my God." So she made a choice. She was already part of the family, but that was not something that might be God had originally planned, because that marriage should not have been. But now she said, "I'll go with you. I'll integrate your people. I'll live there and die there. And especially your God will be my God." And she even prayed there and then, saying, "May the Lord of Israel, deal with me if death doesn't separate us." So what we have here is a foreigner, married in a foreign land, that didn't know the Lord, but looked at Naomi as an example of a believer. And when she was faced with a choice, what shall we do next? What shall I do? Whether we go back to my people with Orpah, or follow Naomi to a strange land? She said, "Yeah, I'll follow you. And not only that, but I will fully integrate, including my acceptance, my choosing your God as my God." And that tells us that the story of that foreigner shows that to be fully integrated as a full foreigner into Bethlehem and the family of Naomi, she felt and she became convinced that she also needed to change her faith, to put her faith in the God of Israel. She didn't go to Bethlehem and continued worshipping her own God or continue with her own ways. And when she went, she continued living with Naomi. She didn't take her independence, asked for a flat, started looking for young men. She followed Naomi's advice. And when Naomi felt that it was time for Ruth, now that she was adjusted, to look for a husband, Naomi directed her to work in the place. So she went, she followed Naomi, she accepted to work and contribute to the family and society. She didn't stay at home. Yeah. And when Naomi advised her to ask Boaz to be a redemption, she accepted. And Boaz said, "You are blessed because you didn't look for young men. You came to me. You subjected yourself to the culture that was planning for a widow to be redeemed." So there's a lot we see about what God expects of foreigners that come into our country. You cannot come just like that with your hands in your pocket and continue as you were doing before.